Hi everyone, my name is Stella Umbaso, and today I'm going to represent sub-Saharan sub-Saharan countries in Africa. And my topic today is to, first of all, I'm going to identify the boundaries that include in Africa. So Africa include African countries of the desert, the transitional zone that cuts across the southern edge of Sahara and desert of the widest portion of the continent. Many of the countries in Africa transition zone are included in the rim of Sub-Saharan Africa. The rim can be further broken into regional components, as we have the Central Africa, the East Africa, the West Africa, and the Southern Africa. At the eastern end of the Africa transitional zone, it's the Horn of Africa, which is include the region of East Africa. The map vary in terms of where countries are included, and some that gather geographical backgrounds is helpful in identifying countries' location and characteristics. So Madagascar is the largest highland of southern Africa in the coast. It's usually included with other regionals that has geographical quantities, and it's quite a big land. All right. The physical geography of sub-Saharan Africa. Okay. The African transition zone divides North Africa from the rest of Africa. That is include the climatic and cultural dynamics. The cultural conflicts and desertification are common in the zone. Dry arid climate common in the Sahara Desert and is dominant by the zone, tropical type of climate. The prevail south of zone. The global climate change continues to shape the continent. The shift lands of Sahara are slowly moving southwest to tropics. Desertification is a zone that continues to as a natural conditions, and the human places pressure on the region through overgrazing and lack of precipitation. Type B climates are resurface again south of tropic in the southern latitude. The Karoo and the Namibia Desert are located in South Africa, which mainly is countries of Botswana and Namibia. For a continent as large as Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa does not have extended mountain ranges capable for the ranges in North or South America. So we found out that the Sub-Saharan, the tallest point in Africa is Mount Kilimanjaro and Tanzania, which is near the border of Kenya. It's nearby the Mount Kenya, which is lifted up in 17,058 feet. So it's located in Congo, Uganda border, each more than 16,000 feet in elevation. It creates a rain shadow for every effect for the region. Right. The main rivers of Africa in this Transsaharan desert is Nile, Niger, Congo, Zambezi. The river completes the Amazon of the status as the longest river in the world. The White Nile branches begins in the Lake Victoria in East Africa, and the Blue Nile branches starting in the Lake Tana in Ethiopia. The number of lakes in this sub-Saharan Africa is the largest is Lake Victoria, which is in the border of several East African countries and is considered to be the second largest in the world in the service of Africa. Another thing that I'm going to talk about is the political geography of Sub-Saharan Africa. Okay, we found out that despite these changes, over 70% of the people in Sub-Saharan Africa will lack basic civil liberties of human rights. Moreover, the region faces what amount to humanitarian crisis as a combination of drought, civil conflicts, economic decline, and there are nearly 60 million of the region that people after 550 million. Millions more, possibly quarter of the total population, are over poverty stricken. The forces of colonialism are partially responsible for the African difficulties. In the 19th century, the European powers drew political boundaries and cut across indigenous cultures and territories in increasing social tension. Large areas of land were taken over the colonial administration, and hence the European companies and individuals forced off their ancestral land. Then thousands of Africans became laborers and migrant workers. The colonial era ended in 1950 and 1660. Sub-Saharan countries were left with few trained personnel and little infrastructure. Exploitation policies extracted Africans and mineral and other rulers were tried to take it over. The legacy of the European borders is the ethnic diversity that characterized almost every African state. Nigeria contains as many as 160 different groups. Even countries such as Switzerland and other occupied almost entirely by the single ethnic group are usually subdivided along lines of kinship and social affiliations. For the new Africa leaders, decolonization offered a chance to implement development programs that could benefit the citizens of independent states. Although these countries faced several constraints in their effort to develop, not at least with the access of capital and technical expertise, but with a device supplement of Western Bank of International Development associated with the people of Africa. Unfortunately, the project yielded with mixture of how people were treated. The leaders wanted to rule on their own without asking any assistance. Moreover, the government elites and their supporters have used large-scale projects to serving political, economical purpose. Labor-based development in the particular have transferred resources to this in power to exploit indigenous people. For example, the erection of the Manatel Dam on the Senegal River boosted local values. And that's all I had for today. Thank you.